Hi everyone, welcome to the 12th video for quantitative methods, and in this video I'll show you how to do moderation in nonlinear models, so the models that we've seen in the prior video. We're actually getting into quite advanced statistics right now, and also some things that actually published work quite often doesn't do that well. Thankfully Stata makes our lives quite a bit easier, so it actually doesn't require all that many extra steps compared to what we've seen so far. Starting by, as always, loading up our dataset. I'm going to illustrate how to do moderation in logit models. The logic is exactly the same as the other models that we've seen, the Poisson, the negative binomial, as well as in all the other nonlinear models that we can come up with. This requires us to first make this dummy outcome variable again, that is a 1 when acquisitions is non-zero, and 0 if acquisitions is 0 or negative. And for simplicity, I'm going to create a moderator that's also a dummy variable. Specifically, I'll generate a new variable which we call USA, which is 1 if the location variable is exactly USA, and 0 otherwise. So that's what we've done here. And now we have a dummy outcome variable, a continuous main variable being cache, and a dummy moderator. So it's either 0 and 1 for the USA variable. As before, we're going to use the logit model to estimate as the outcome variable, the any acquisition variable, and as before, our model is going to use the factor notation to generate the interaction between cache and the USA variable, and we're going to control for year dummies again. As always, we're using the robust standard errors, so let's estimate this logit model, and as before, we see an interaction term here, as well as the two lower order terms. So that's good, that's what we've done so far, and that remains unchanged. Let's store this model for future use, and let's first just look at how this relationship looks. Because our moderator is a dummy variable, it's quite easy to select the meaningful values. We're going to therefore estimate the effects of cache across the range, going from minus 0.04 up to 423,000, when USA is 0 and when USA is 1. So we're going to get two lines. This is going to take a bit to run. And then we're going to estimate or draw the plot of those two lines just to see what the relationship looks like. Unfortunately, it's not like with the linear models that the significance of this particular interaction term is even needed in order to conclude that there's moderation. And it definitely doesn't provide information that we need to draw any good conclusions. So normally, in linear regression models, we would have just checked whether it is significant, if not continue, if not stop, and if it is significant, continue. Here, even if this is not significant, I would always advise you to follow up with the steps that I'm showing now. So estimating these two lines, we see actually quite different effects for those that are not in the US. So for them, it's a very slight positive effect of cache on the probability of engaging in an acquisition. And the US firms are extremely hungry to do acquisitions. You see here, even for very small cache numbers, the probability of engaging in an acquisition really shoots up quite fast, and then it tapers off at 1. So firms with very high cache values in the US are extremely likely to engage in acquisitions. Now, to really conclude whether there is moderation, even though it looks very dramatic here, you do need to engage in some follow-up steps. Specifically, you're going to have to compare the marginal effects. As I've advised before, I would say the average marginal effect for the meaningful values of our moderator. So let's restore our model, and then we're going to calculate the marginal effect of cache, the average marginal effect specifically, taking USA to be either 0 or 1. If we had a continuous variable, you would fill in maybe the 5th percentile, the median, and the 95th percentile, but since we have a dummy moderator, it's quite straightforward. Stata is going to calculate that. And what we see here is when USA is 0, that's this first one, we do not see a significant average marginal effect. So cache does not seem to have an effect on non-US firms in terms of their probability to engage in an acquisition. And for the US firms, that's the second row, there is a highly significant positive average marginal effect. Because we will be testing things, we added the post option to this margins command, And just checking how it was stored, similar to before, this is how this first average marginal effect was stored, and this is how this second average marginal effect was stored. And we're going to just use the test command to compare those two average marginal effects. And indeed, we see that these two are different. Statistically speaking, the average marginal effect for the non-US firms is not the same as the average marginal effect for the US-based firms, with a p-value of 0.0021. So this is all that we need to do to test for moderation. I would typically show the graph that I've shown before and report these two average marginal effects, as well as this test comparing them. And in this case, because it's significant, we can conclude that non-US firms are different in the effects of cash on the probability of acquisitions than US-based firms. Specifically, US-based firms have a much more positive effect than the non-US-based firms, for whom there was no effect, statistically speaking. And even though this was quite advanced statistics behind the scenes, as you can see, there's not that many additional steps required compared to moderation in non-linear effects, in linear models. So even though now we have a much more complicated model, as well as much more complicated follow-up steps in terms of statistics, Stata makes our life quite easy. So if we run a Poisson model and we do the same interaction and we do the same follow-up steps, we can interpret things exactly the same way as what I've done here. So that's really a key benefit of Stata, is that it enables us to do these very advanced statistics in a very straightforward and rather simple way. So hopefully, if you need to do this kind of moderation analysis for your thesis, you now know how to do it. In the next video, we'll move to even more complicated stuff, specifically how to do mediation in nonlinear models. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.